So what are the developmental domains that are present in the infant-toddler view? I'll make it easier for you. Approaches to learning and self-regulation, social and emotional, language and literacy, cognition including math and science, and physical development. Are those names exactly the same as they were in the preschool? Yes. But we've just removed a few. Okay, again, it is a continuous model. So these will align to the preschool. Okay? So if you're to break it down, this is how it is. So 11 developmental domains in the kindergarten, the preschool has 8, infant toddler has 5, and school age has 2. Okay? And these are the measures. But all of the developmental domains are the same. Isn't that cool? It's pretty cool. Because in theory then, you can have the exact same DRDP follow that kiddo from infancy all the way through their school age program and have that assessment on one tool. What was happening before is we were trying to compare assessment in infant and toddler, and the measures were different than assessment in preschool. And what did we learn about if you're going to assess a child, does the tool have to be exactly the same? Yes, otherwise we can't say that they've grown. Okay. Oh, we took a look at that, so those are the measures. So, I think I'm going to skip conditional measures. I don't want to confuse you. All right. So here's our navigation map and how it's broken up. So the developmental domain, so what is the developmental domain? You can see it on this measure.
Relationships and social interactions with peers. Right? No. Oh, I can't. Social and emotional development.
Social and emotional development, exactly. So this SED is the abbreviation for social and emotional. It's very teeny. You have it in front of you, kind of, on your table. Oh. So the developmental domain is social and emotional development. What is the measure? SED4, which is relationships and social interaction with peers. Okay? So that SED4 is the measure, and the definition is right underneath it. Who has the DRDP preschool that can read the definition? So how the DRDP then breaks up is that we break it up into these developmental levels. Okay? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 developmental levels. We have descriptors for how many developmental levels? Say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right? So right here are these descriptors. What are those descriptors describing? These are examples. Now, one of the things that teachers will try to do is that they'll just try and put all the examples. Oh, I've seen this. Oh, I've seen this specifically. These are merely to act as guidance. Okay? You won't find every single example of how this could be demonstrated in these examples. There's just one or two to help you get an idea of, oh, this is what they mean, or oh, this is the type of interactions or activities where I might see this displayed. Okay? And it's really helpful to read through the examples. Okay. So in order to mark where they are in their developmental level, the child has to be said to have mastered the developmental level. Okay? Now what mastery means is that it's a behavior that occurs consistently over time. So if you've only seen the behavior one time, it's not considered mastered. We're going to talk about what that might be considered in just a second. They've also have to demonstrate it in more than one setting. So if you have a kiddo and they're talking about walking and they've taken their first step, have they mastered walking? No. No. They are emerging into walking, but they certainly haven't mastered it. If a child's able to run, can you probably safely say that they have mastered walking? They can consistently do it over time in different settings. Okay? You also have some additional options when you fill out the DRDP. So if you look right here at the very bottom, This is not yet at the earliest developmental level of this measure, okay? So if it's a later developing measure, so Alt-Rec 7, shared use of space and materials, and the child has not yet reached this developmental level, then a teacher is able to mark it right here. If a teacher just leaves that blank, then they are indicating nothing. I didn't see it, or I skipped a page, or I just didn't feel like observing. But if a teacher is able to intentionally mark that bubble right there, then it lets whoever's doing the assessments, probably the teacher, know I haven't yet seen the child develop, display, or master this behavior. Okay? So it gives you the option to acknowledge for these later developing behaviors that it's not yet there. Okay? Now emerging. So if we use the example of walking, we might be able to put, whatever it is for the gross motor development, child sits up, and the next level is child is taking a step. You would put emerging. Because if I mark right here, and then I mark emerging, then that lets me know that they've mastered this, but I'm starting to see some of these behaviors. So this level is emerging. I'm starting to see some of those behaviors, but it's not yet mastered. So it gives the teacher the opportunity to say, this is mastered, but I see some of these behaviors. So sometimes teacher can struggle with that, is I see some of these, but it's not consistently over time. Remember, if a child is mastered, it has to be consistent over time and in multiple settings. Okay? So you're able to mark right here and able to say emerging into the next category. That makes a difference. All right.